get more on Pan American's deal to take out MAG Silver. We are joined by David McAlvany, CEO and Portfolio Manager at McAlvany Financial Companies. David, great to see you. You reckon this deal looks good for Pan American. Of course, they're getting a partial stake in that big Juanicipio mine in Mexico. However, you reckon it doesn't look so promising for MAG Silver investors. Give us your thoughts there, please.
Well, I think one of the most unique aspects of MAG is the 30% free cash flow, which is funding a dividend. Very unique proposition to have a hard asset with a treasury equivalent yield. So that goes away for the MAG shareholder. And I think it is a win for Pan American. If you look at the Juanicipio project, you've got almost 8,000 hectares, which are largely unexplored. You've got a company, the operator is Fresnillo. And the operator is actively exploring. They're looking at increasing their ore production by almost 70% next year, or this year rather. So you've got something that is ramping silver production. They've got decent gold production. It doesn't add a tremendous amount to Pan American's reserves and resources, but we are at a point in time where companies are certainly wise to be looking down the pike and adding to resources and reserves as much as they can.
I spoke briefly with the MAG Silver CFO earlier, and I asked him whether Fresnillo, the giant silver producer, which owns most of the mine, is backing the transaction. He said, yes, they're supportive of the transaction. And actually, not only do they own most of the mine, they have about 9% of MAG Silver. So I asked him, well, are they actually going to vote their shares in MAG Silver in favor of the deal? And he wouldn't commit to that. He just said they're supportive of the transaction. So it sounds like there's maybe a shoe to drop here as to Fresnillo's attitude.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is unique also about this transaction is that Pan American is fortifying their silver production. And they of course have something that may come to fruition this year, the relaunch of Escobal, which would increase their production by 20 million ounces. You add in the 8 million from MAG and they become a contender to be a top silver producer instead of top 5, maybe top 2. And so it is interesting because a lot of the industry trend has been towards gold production in recent years and increasing gold production. Even Pan American in recent years, that's been the case. So the fact that they're doubling back now to add to silver production may be an indication they see an opportunity in that particular commodity.
At least 2/3 of the votes cast by the MAG shareholders have to back this deal. So perhaps they'll have to do a persuasion job on the investors.
I tell you what, it's tough walking away from that cash flow driven dividend. It really was unique in terms of a portfolio fixture, and it's going to be tough to find a replacement.
Right. So you're by your numbers, MAG was using about 30% of free cash flow to pay for the dividend?
That's right, 30% of free cash flow, and as the price of silver increases, assuming that it does, sure, you're talking about a dividend share that had the potential to go from 4% to 6% to 8%. There really wasn't a cap on that, so very attractive proposition to have that hard asset and cash flow attached. You're seeing the industry trend supporting dividends, but also share buybacks, almost a preference for share buybacks. So again, the dividend feature here was super unique.
Yeah, the yield on MAG Silver north of 4% with that dividend. I was wondering last week, why aren't all the gold miners paying special dividends like Lundin Gold? I mean, they're just wallowing in cash right now.
Yeah, I think that the opinion has been free cash flow and how that's used. Perhaps it's best to use it for share buybacks. And, we see things a little bit differently in terms of our portfolio construction, income being a significant attractive feature. So management is moving a different direction, I think, in most cases.
Yeah, why do they favor stock buybacks? I guess they're more efficient in tax terms. You don't pay tax directly anyway on a stock buyback.
Yeah, well, I think it's also just popular these days, share buybacks. And I don't mind share buybacks as long as you're not chasing all-time highs. That's when it becomes, to me, an egregious decision by any board. But perhaps you could make the case if you've got your shares selling at a discount to net asset value, maybe you should be buying back shares. So under the right circumstances, it can make sense.
Are we going to see a flood of other mergers in the precious metal space? We've seen so many deals over the past 2 years.
It's increasing. I hope that we don't repeat the last cycle and see M&A unhinged, where all of a sudden the capital disciplines that have been on display in recent years go away. And that's what put the whole space in a penalty box. And I sure hope that the C-suite is not getting desperate. Again, reserves and resources, they have to replace them. So it's either drill and find them in your own projects, or find deals that may be accretive in time. I sure would like to see more drilling, and that is one of the unique aspects of MAG. This is unbelievable in terms of the resource that's there, and it's largely untapped. So I think long term, this makes a ton of sense for Pan American. They're not the operator. They've got high grade ore, and it certainly helps them with what was a first quarter win in terms of containing costs, under $14 an ounce for silver, versus last year's closer to 18. So bringing in ounces at sort of sub 14 number is very attractive for them. Again, it makes all the sense in the world for the Pan American holders of those shares. MAG, reasonably, I think there should be some disappointment from MAG shareholders.
It's going to be interesting to see if there is pushback on the deal. David, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
David McAlvany, CEO and Portfolio Manager at McAlvany Financial Companies.